Yeah.
Welcome old family and new family to Cipher Scholars. Part education, part hip hop, all culture. You're listening to one of two hosts right now, Brandon White, aka Bushido Garvey.
And this is 2 of 1 host, your boy Rob Blow.
Yes. Again, this is Cipher Scholars, part education, part hip hop, all culture. We try to be local, global, and universal because you can be all three of those things if you choose to. So let's hop right into today's syllabus. So first, we're going to hop right into social media and school shootings. There was an incident here in Rochester that has implications for other places in this nation. Then we're going to hop into the situation where a teacher put on Blackface to imitate Common of all rappers. Interesting enough, but we're going to get into that. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about Drake, cannabis, and cannabis's relationship with the hip hop industry. So let's get to it.
Okay, so we're starting off with the social
Joe
media.
Yes.
So we're starting off with the social media school shooting that happened locally here in Rochester, New York. A juvenile has sent out a Snapchat that went to the effect of I'm gonna come to Edison Career and Technology High School to shoot people and shoot it up and cause some havoc. That information was found by, I think, some parents, I believe, or people that saw it on the web. Once it went on the web, and it was reported to the district, and because of that, the juvenile was arrested, as well as the father of the juvenile.
What was the father arrested for?
He was arrested for criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree. That's a Class C felony, I believe.
Right.
Which could lead, I think the minimum was like 15 years.
Okay.
Automatically, I believe. And the juvenile, which is the name wasn't released as of yet.
Juvenile, right?
Yeah, because
or he or she is a juvenile.
Here she's a juvenile, and they were arrested for terroristic threats. So yeah, this is terrible to hear, man. When I first heard about it, I felt really sad because I wouldn't have believed that. I would not believe that this could happen here in Rochester. You know what I mean? First and foremost, and
well, you know what? Like right after Columbine happened, when I was a student in Monroe. Somebody wrote a letter somehow. I don't know if they left it on the ground or put it in the bathroom. Somebody wrote a letter saying this is before Snapchat and social media.
Okay.
So they had to actually write out a letter, right? And they said that there were nobody go to school tomorrow, and making a terroristic threat that way. And a lot of people end up staying home the next day because of that, right?
Okay.
So
That.
So this has been happening since Columbine has been going down, but I'll say that a lot of times the kids, at least in my experience, the kids in these kind of scenarios and environments, there's a lot of attention grabbing out of it, not necessarily a meditation on fulfilling that promise. Let's think about how many times you might have heard a kid who's having a terrible time managing their emotions. Almost like, man, I'll blow this whole school up.
Yep, I heard.
Meanwhile, they got no access to explosives, nor do they have the real will to do it, but they just mad and they want to say something inflammatory and seek some attention. So I feel like this might be that case where the kid was not necessarily about that school shooter demeanor, but was trying to, just get attention and say something provocative, which is unacceptable too, which makes it more sad for me because this person may not have had that as their intention at all, and here they are now their life is being radically impacted by not being able to control their emotions in that moment.
I mean, and this is a heavy impact, because this is going to go over their heads, both parties' heads, for years to come. And on top of that, even though that could be true, maybe they weren't about doing that, and they just wanted to relieve some type of steam by saying such inflammatory things. It was still mixed with truth, man. You know what I mean? Because
there was actually
you really put that out on the media, in the media that I found my father's gun. You know what I mean? And I'm going to use that as a tool to you know what I mean, carry out what I wanted to do. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you a question on this, because it's interesting to me, because you're right, because there was truth in that, where it's just like, it wasn't just like, I'm gonna blow the school up, and then they actually find explosives at the house. Like, literally, like, there was a gun there, and it was owned by the person that student said it belonged to. But let me ask you this, though. How upset should people be at the fact that she said it versus the fact that she incorporated her father into the crazy situation too? Is there any room for somebody being like, oh, how you gonna tell on your peoples when you can argue that all of it is wrong in the first place?
I don't know, man. The question you're posing, I probably would answer as like, I think they're worried about. When I spoke to people about this, a lot of people were basically saying that how can you like out your pops? Yeah, out your pop, like I mean, so that was like the general consensus on that. So I think people will focus more on that than focusing on the whole thing being at fault. You know what I mean? Right. Because I mean, that's a lot of things. That's poor parenting. That's poor decisions on the juvenile part, you know what I mean, on how they express themselves in a negative fashion, you know what I mean, things of that nature, and other factors as well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, indeed, because I definitely wrestle with that myself, because I'm not even gonna lie, the first thing I thought was like, man, you just kind of wrapped up your family, because you're in this culture of like immediately running to social media when you have a negative emotion, and you know, wanting the reaction from it and being trained to be fed off that reaction. But at the same time, like that, there's a bigger picture. You know what I'm saying? Where it's just like, why was the gun there? You know what I'm saying? Like, was it accessible for the kid? And even that is more complex. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what that man is going through in his life to feel like he might need that. You know what I'm saying? I have no clue. But that was the first thing that I was thinking, like, oh man, like look at that. Like, another thing social media kind of encouraged. It was media. I feel like social media encourages that kind of behavior. You know what I'm saying? Like to do stuff like that and say stuff like that, and there's consequences behind it.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously we see the consequence, man. Both parties, the juvenile as well as the father, Toby Gully. Has gotten both wrapped up for this, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, a second degree, possessing a weapon to a second degree. This is a Class C felony, man.
Yeah, like that's a serious felony.
That's a decade plus. That's a decade and a half, man. Yeah. For you, like that's crazy, man. Like, he's not gonna see the light of day, man. Yeah, like, this is real, man.
And that child isn't gonna see their father for a really long time. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I really think that, and I think our story with Common and the teacher wore the Blackface will tie into this too. There has to be like emotional intelligence training and education that needs to happen for students on a regular basis and for the adults on a regular basis. Just because like, and we all wrestle with, I know I wrestle with personally making sure that my emotions are in check when it comes to certain things and certain experiences, but and so that's why I think everybody needs to be going through it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody should get that education, because I feel like if there was appropriate social media education and appropriate emotional intelligence education, whether it's through proportionate school psychologists, proportionate school counselors, proportionate restorative justice or restorative practices programs, like situations like this wouldn't be happening as much. Because this ain't the first time like social media, a kid posted something on social media that was like really controversial, really endangering. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there was one time we was working at and a kid not older than 13 was like up in social media like with guns in his hands. You know what I'm saying? Like middle school kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, one, just doing something dangerous, and then two, on top of that, incriminating himself. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that that's definitely something that needs to be. There needs to be a social media ethics course. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and it's just as mandatory as anything else, because this is hyper relevant to what's going on right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so.
I mean, man. I mean, it's so many wrongs on so many levels, man. Like, And I mean, I can feel the inferiority of the public looking at the story right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
And how this juvenile reacted, and the negligence of the father. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know what I mean?
You know, I hope the best for the father. I hope the best for the student. You know what I'm saying? And I hope that they really get a chance to really reflect on how everything went down and forgive themselves and be able to forgive each other, forgive themselves, and just move on and live the best life possible from this point on. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
But yeah, man. Let's go ahead and move on to this next part of the syllabus, right? So
we stuck in school mode right now, man. We still in the. So we had another situation by a teacher by the name of David Carter.
Yes, David Carter.
He's a teacher of Milpitas High School.
Yep. Bay Area, peace to the Bay.
Yeah, somewhere in California. Yep. Basically during the month of October 31st, Halloween Day, he decided to come to school in a costume, dressed up as the common rapper, and with blackface to add to that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He wanted to resemble the common rapper. Not a common
rapper common.
Rapper common sense.
I mean,
or common.
If you were to go into blackface, that's also trying to represent the common rapper. If you were a racist white person, but yes, go ahead. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and he was met with a lot of backlash, a lot of resentment, a lot of disagreement on what he has done coming to school with blackface, because of the given historic aspect of how it was represented for black people, I guess, you know what I mean, in a negative fashion. You know what I mean, during the minstrel shows, etc.
A student aired him out.
A student
that was in the classroom, because nothing is safe online anymore, especially in the schools. Like, I'll tell a funny story real quick, because there was one time, like, my pants, like, they weren't staying up. You know what I'm saying? I think I might have forgot my belt or something, and I went to pick something up, and my butt crack was showing. Right? Okay. And a student recorded it. Ooh. Right? I was like, oh, look. And I found out, I forgot how I found out, right? I found out, I think, because I saw them, like, watching it and laughing. I was like, all right, how am I going to get this? How am I going to make sure that this don't go viral? You know what I'm saying? That my crack go viral. So I asked the student, I said, hey, listen, my phone died. Can I borrow your phone? I was like, yeah, sure. Delete. Got you. Thought you got me. And then we just laughed and we kept it pushing. But yeah, nothing is safe.
And then the student knew that you deleted it?
Yeah, I told him. I was like, got you. You thought you had me. Nope. But me and her had a good relationship. But even though that's but to the point of the other student, like, immediately reacting to whatever's happening in your life and throwing it on social media for whatever points, that's a thing. But this is a situation where it was good that it happened, because we might not have known, would never known, the world would have never known that, a teacher or teachers may be doing stuff like this in classrooms.
And that goes to show these teachers are still, I mean, there's adults that still feel comfortable enough to do this now. The teacher, David Carter, basically said that when he first did it, he didn't feel like it was a negative thing, right? He wasn't aware of the negative implications or the stigma connected to it.
Yeah. Which, do you believe that?
I mean, like, first of all, when I heard that, I was thinking, like, is this a public school or a private school? That's the first thing. Second thing is, if it was a public school, that means he's around a lot of colored students of color, right?
I think it's a public school, because it's Milpitas Unified School District.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? So it's part of a school district.
So we could assume that it's a public school, and if so, I think he should know better, because even if you don't know the entirety of the history of African American plight, and the negative symbolisms that's connected to it, like a noose or blackface or racial slurs, you know what I mean, etc. Then you might need to take a step back, and you might need to put yourself onto that information. You know what I mean? Make yourself exposed to that information.
To me, that's the step, right? And actually, Common kind of charged this teacher with doing that, right? Mm-hmm. Where one thing I like about Common is not like a reactionary kind of dude. You know what I'm saying? Like when TMZ approached him, he was calm about it. He was cool about it. He was even-headed about it. Showed a lot of emotional intelligence. You know what I'm saying? Because he didn't fly off the handle and was like, "What? I'll bomb that teacher, his car." He didn't do anything like that. He was like, "Well, I wonder why he felt comfortable enough to do that. I wouldn't mind speaking to him." Okay. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be in that town, so matter of fact, I wouldn't mind just rolling up to the classroom or the school to talk to him about it, because I'm a man, he's a man, and he believes, and his words were that we have to be careful about who's in our classrooms, and if they need that training, they need to get emotional intelligence training. But that's the privilege of a lot of white people, because they don't have to know this history, or they don't have to care about it in order to get the job.
Yep, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's definitely true, and that's some things that you might have to learn on the job. You know what I mean? Like learning the cultural sensitivity of the plight of black people, I guess, or any other race for that matter. You know what I mean?
Indeed. And why does and this is why education comes from, the best education comes from your culture, not from an institution that's trying to serve your culture, right? Yeah. Because why, and case in point, Common, why is the rapper more informed about emotional intelligence awareness than the school instructor? And I know why. It's because, again, that's an organic form of education, the culture. You know what I'm saying? Common is one of the greatest MCs to bless the culture. You know what I'm saying? But it is ironic, and a lot of other people's thinking that the rapper would have to know more about how to interact with kids than somebody who does that for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it don't make sense, man. Like, and you would expect even better. Like the thing is, I don't know too much about different cultures as well. Like I definitely know about the African American culture. I definitely know some things about the white American culture. But when it comes to like Indian culture or Nepalese culture, or you know what I mean, or
and those populations are growing here.
You know what I mean. Like I dealt with a student that's from Nepal. You know what I mean, and I do know some things about it. You know what I mean, but I also do take the time to try to brush up on some of the information, so I won't get caught up on too. You know what I mean, on too many things. You know what I mean. So I think if you don't know too much about someone's culture or whatever, and you are dealing with them on a consistent basis, I think you should take the time out to learn more about it. You know what I mean? Learn about the positives and the negatives that come with it. You know what I mean?
Right. Learn about the culture and like the oppression of that culture. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you know what I mean?
Those two things can be different. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's crazy, man. Like,
I don't believe this, man.
You can even talk about the monkey. You know how people always say monkey wrench. You throw it in the monkey wrench, right? But people don't even know the history about the term monkey wrench. You know what I mean? Like that comes from Jack Johnson. He's the one who invented the monkey wrench. It was called a wrench, but since of the racial stereotypes connected to that, white people called it the monkey wrench.
Was it because was it like a punch he would throw, or
no? He created an actual wrench.
He called the wrench.
He's the inventor of the monkey wrench, man. Jack Johnson is the inventor of the monkey wrench. Of the wrench. But
people called it the monkey wrench because it was Jack Johnson.
Because of the time, you know what I mean? Because of the racial implication connected to that time, they called it the monkey wrench. White America called it the monkey wrench, but it was really the wrench. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you hear terms like idioms like, "Yo, we threw a monkey wrench in the problem." You know what I mean? Messed up. You know what I mean? Whatever.
That's real.
But people don't even know. You know what I mean? Like it gets lost in translation somehow, or syntax or whatever. You know what I mean?
And I think that you don't need to be a flawless learner about that kind of stuff. You don't need to know every single part of the history, but you do need to be a part of the journey of learning as much as you can, because you are serving kids that have been impacted by that history in positive ways and negative ways, right? So in terms of positive parts of the culture that you should know, but also the negative parts of the oppression that they've experienced. You know what I'm saying? So, definitely. But I think that any educator that hops in the classroom day one should know enough not to be wearing blackface.
That's one major. That's definitely one major thing that should be on top of the list.
Right. That, you know what that reminds me of? Like, I mean, it's not exactly the same, but like, it's just like why are teachers, like, again, white teachers don't have to worry about this. Remember when we did a story, did the story where there was like we're talking about like the Trump effect in schools.
Yeah.
Like there were teachers like dressing up for Halloween as border walls. in like in schools with Latinx students in it.
Oh, I didn't
Even
know
if
that.
it was
Wow.
white kids, like it's still really messed up. Like so.
Wow.
But yeah, like by the way, for those who don't know, he was imitating Common because he was a teacher. Common is becoming more famous for outside the hip hop world for doing those AI commercials.
Yeah.
Like, AI is the truth of the future. Like
I forgot about it.
So that's why he was imitating Common of all rappers. Like why is a teacher who doesn't know enough to not wear blackface imitating Common of all conscious
you can at least cop the mask.
Rappers?
At least could have copped the mask though.
You wore blackface to imitate a conscious rapper.
That was funny though.
That's how culturally ignorant you are in that space.
All of that.
Yeah, but Common, he didn't immediately do the cancel thing. Was like, he just needs to be fired forever and never be in front of a kid. He promoted education.
Yep.
Promoted education.
And his response definitely.
So again, being more of an educator in that moment than the actual professional educator.
So you can learn from this moment, man. You know what I mean? So I guess he's going to have to play the teacher when he gets down to that high school and confront David Carter.
Indeed. So I hope David Carter, he's apologized since.
Yep.
That's important to note. And I hope that apology turns into true education. Word up.
One last thing, he was sent on a leave, paid leave. Yeah. I think they just need to put him in a rubber room. I don't know if they got a rubber room down there, but they can throw him in a rubber room or something like that.
There's like rubber room in every. I feel like, or there has been at least. For those who don't know, a rubber room is a place where if a teacher crosses the line professionally in a variety of ways, they're sent to a space where they're not working and still collecting a check possibly and are on leave until the situation is settled. Now that itself is a problem too when you think about it, right? Where it's like, all right, so you're not working, but you're still getting paid, right? And you're not doing anything to reflect on the issue or the challenge.
You need rehabilitation in the rubber room.
You need restorative practices.
Restorative practice.
He needs to be in the peace circle with Common.
Yep.
Common and his students. You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't that be dope?
And the students, that would be crazy. And let Common run the circle.
Right. And unfortunately, because again, the professional educator couldn't do it at that moment. But it is what it is. So we got a few minutes left. Let's talk about Drake and the cannabis industry. And peace to my mother listening. Peace to Auntie Renee. Peace to Joe Riv. All those other folk listening on Facebook Live. I had to shout out to them as well.
Of course. All right. So cannabis and hip hop. Recently, Drake had made an investment, or is going to make an investment in the cannabis industry. More life growth. That's what it's called. And I think it's going to be based in somewhere in Toronto. Yep. He's known as the Sixth God for a reason. I guess. But this is one of many rappers who actually played a part, who's playing a part in the cannabis industry.
Right. Jay-Z, Snoop.
Yep.
He's not a rapper, but Damian Marley.
Okay.
Right. And he's definitely intertwined with the hip hop culture deeply. And
Wiz Khalifa, Corrupt.
Right, that's right. Shout out Corrupt.
Yeah, Corrupt was one of the. We got to big up Corrupt, man. I think he was one of the first people that actually made strides to be a part of the invest in the cannabis industry.
Right. The Moon Rocks.
With the Moon Rocks and stuff like that on the West Coast. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But what were you gonna say? I think it was.
I was gonna say Bishop Don Magic Wand has his own.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. That's a whole other thing. But he's connected in the hip hop culture.
Of course. Yep. We'll always accept that, man.
It's called Church Cannabis. That's right.
Wow.
I forgot. Yeah. Yep. He's
funny,
a whole lot. He's a whole lot for sure.
I guess we kind of chose this topic because we noticed that it's kind of crazy, man. It's a surprise to see Drake make such an investment because it seemed like he does pretty well with promoting. Right, with the Sprite commercial, with the with his own albums, with Spotify, yeah. Like it seemed like he's a really good businessman when it comes to promoting, and I think that might be that could be a good lane for him, I guess. But it was a surprise for me to see him do that because he's such a clean cut guy. I never really see him promote cannabis too much in his music. I don't think. You know what I mean? I never even hear him.
Well, see, Drake. One thing that I find most fascinating about Drake is he's, to your point, he's maintained, like, when you look at him, he's maintained a cleaner image overall. You don't think of somebody immediately who's like, you know, just rough or just super lost in drugs or whatever have you. But although he does kind of weave in and out of talking about those things or being around those things, like in a subtle way.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he's definitely around those things, but I don't hear too much of him talking about it. Like most of the topics are about, you know what I mean.
Just like you know, relationships, breakups. He does talk about like drinking a decent amount.
Yeah, drinking. You know what I mean. On one. You know what I mean. Things like that. Scheming. You know, all that stuff like that. You know, partying,
dealing with haters.
All of that stuff. You know what I mean. But I never really hear too much about that. You know what I mean.
True.
Like, you know, you think of Redman, you're gonna automatically.
Or Cypress Hill.
Cypress Hill, definitely. You know
or Wiz Khalifa. That made sense.
Yep.
But I'll say this: what's wider and what's more business, white man business like, than getting into an industry that you're really not about? Because at the end of the day, it's about an entrepreneurial opportunity, not necessarily about what you're passionate or not even necessarily what you're not passionate about, but what you're really deep or connected with. Okay. Right? Like, because when I think of, like, I'm trying to think of a good example. You know who bought Death Row? Hasbro. The toy board game company bought Hasbro. Is it because they love, you know, dog food by Daz and Corrupt? Was it because they were Tupac fans? Was it because, you know, that Doggy Style they found, you know, Doggy Style to be top 5 Dead or Alive albums? No. It's because they did business. You know what I'm saying? I think he's trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, they're acute businessmen, I guess. You know what I mean? So and that's what I would chalk it up to, man. I think this is a strict business move. He probably sees that cannabis might be profitable, right? But I kind of beg to differ because I found some information that the cannabis industry wasn't as profitable in the year of 2019, I believe. And in 2020, I think they're gonna focus more on their profits. It's because of some reasons, whatever. But I can't remember or really call off my mind. I had to go into the cannabis industry. You know, I do a little bit of research outside of some of the topics. You know, of course. And I found out that during the cannabis industry is not doing too well in the profit gains so far, man. You know what I mean? So in 2020, they look like they're trying to reassess themselves and
that's probably why they might have reached out to Drake.
Exactly.
Because that image is like, he's like the Taylor Swift of rap, where it's just like immediately the image, the name is like boom, like entire economies follow that name, or like LeBron, like entire economies follow that name. You know what I'm saying? And actually, Drake found out will own 60% of this company.
Oh wow, you know
and you know, Canopy Growth, which is the parent company of More Life Growth, will retain the other 40%. You know what I'm saying? So, but isn't this interesting though? They'll have 40% and have the ability to exclusively exploit certain intellectual property in Canada and internationally.
And what do you mean by certain intellectual properties, you know?
That's scary to me. That's interesting, not scary. Scary is too strong. That's interesting to me because, again, like one of the things that happens when rappers get into business, particularly if they didn't come up with a business mindset and they're going into businesses that are outside of their music, right? The deal may seem good on the surface, but then there might be other things going on with the deal that they may not, you know, had the business warfare sense to be, you know, negotiating around or not be manipulated by, because that sounds shady to me. I can't even pretend to understand what exclusively exploit certain intellectual property. Does that mean like if Drake makes a catchy chorus or a catchy music for like More Life Growth, they'll be able to retain that? Does that mean that, you know?
I would think I could think that. Yeah, I could think that. You know what I mean?
If the October the OVO owl had like a little blunt in his mouth, like does the company get to retain that? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'll just be joking, y'all. Either way, Drake I feel like he's gonna make a decent amount of money.
Yeah, I think so. I think it might have been a smart move for the cannabis industry to include Drake within the ads, promotion, etc. But I just want to say that this cannabis thing has been a part of hip hop for decades.
Yeah.
Man. And hip hop is only like 45 years old, 46 years old, or whatever.
Right.
And obviously Corrupt, Snoop Dogg, Redman, Method Man, Wiz Khalifa. Yeah. These guys are champion the cannabis way, I guess. You know what I mean? Yeah. Within the fields of hip hop.
Yeah. And like there's this whole expansion, and not even expansion, revisitation of what the plant in its entirety can do for humans.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Other than like the getting high, or that property of it, but like the actual medicinal.
I mean, look at Montel Williams, man. You know, he got multiple sclerosis, man. He he stands by cannabis. You know what I mean?
Right.
To this day, I believe. To this day.
Yep.
But
and like the CBD oil that like is THC free, that's still medicinal.
Yep.
You know, doing a lot of things, but now that's being exploited too. Because,
I mean, and because of this industry being set up, man. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna they got the CBD use available for people. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's crazy, man. For people that's having medical troubles, etc. You know what I mean? I seen it firsthand. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, definitely firsthand, especially with people with multiple sclerosis out there. You know what I mean? So
I think the business will pick up once the business and the government go through some counseling. Because
take some time, man. Take some time to lay down the laws and all that other stuff like that.
Right.
And I think one reason why the profits are not too good is because of the black market. You know what I mean?
It's still roaring.
It's still growing. It's still growing. So they still got to legalize it. I mean, they still got to legalize it all across the United States, I believe.
Right.
They still got to regulate it to a certain degree. Laws have to still be laid down, etc. You know what I mean? So, but the black market right now is still thriving and still booming, I guess.
Gotcha. But y'all, we had time at Cipher Scholars, part education, part hip hop, all culture. You can catch us every Tuesday from 1:30 to 2 on 104.3 WAYO FM. Feel free to donate to the station. Peace. Before I say peace, you can check us out online on Facebook as well. Peace and progress.